Okay, so welcome back, and as I said before, today we are going to work on these buttons, 6 months, 1 month, all time, so we can see the artists and the tracks from different time periods, so how the users listening's been. So if I go to the Spotify developers, here you can pass in different time ranges. So we can say medium term, which is the default, so the default is the medium term, but you can also say something like the long term, and if you do that, it'll give you the long-term data basically. And I'm highlighting on names, so that's one of the tracks that I've been listening to a lot apparently in the long term, even though I think I only started that this year. But anyway, that is the implementation method. And so how I'm planning to actually do it is, once we're in this page, we have this endpoint, which is the tracks. So I'll just extract that, and then I will have to do another fetch from the server for the data given the time period. We will pass the time period from not the URL. No, the time period will be from these buttons. What I meant to say was, we have these tracks, and we will also be passing the access token, I mean, up here, so that we can access each of these data for the fetch. So if we go back, zoom in a little bit. So here, so if I go on app.tsx, so here we have everything that we are passing. That's the route, and that's the data we are passing to that page. And we also got the section which displays each of those. Here we have the data type, which we are not using at all, and we don't need to either. So instead of this, what I'm going to say is access token, and set that as, oh, actually, let me just double check, we are not using that section. And in the section we have title and items, so we're not using the data type. Okay, good. But that is also for the section and not the display all page. Oh, that's different from what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking there, because that is just the home page. So in this route, what I will say is in this display all, I will be passing the access token through here. Okay, so I haven't defined it yet, but I can just start passing it for now, instead of don't want to retype this every time. So let's say that. So we'll just say access token, and that is simply going to be the access. Oh, I don't know if I don't set it, do I? I do not make it a global thing up here, so I should probably set that as well. So const token, and we'll say set access token. We use the use state, and it's simply going to be a string. Okay, that's fine. And if we go to the place where we get the access token, which is here, and we will just set the access token to be access token. There you go, that's fine. So so access token is fine, but it's not defined in the display all. So we'll go in here and then define our access token. Let's say up here, access token is simply going to be a string, and then we will say access token data. I should have done it in the same order, I don't know, just the OCD won't allow me to have it differently. Okay, so we've got the access token now. So once we're in this page, what I want to do is extract the URL. So we can just go up here, and I will say URL, and that is simple. So it's window.location.href. Yep. And let me just print the URL. Oh my god. So in here, let's get data, top artists. If I go back in here, console log, so yep, slash artists. So we're just getting the URL there, so I need to extract the URL part. So for that, what we need to do is say URL and then pass this window, which is our actual URL up here, and then dot or what was it, but it's not liking that either. Oh, it's a new URL dot what was this, path name, I think. Yep, let's see if that's working. I'm gonna have to refetch the data. Oh, am I not logging it? Yeah, I'm not logging it. And there we go, we got slash artists, right? So once we're up here, so now since we know it's the artist page, we can just do a what's it called, we can just call that await function. So we can use a use effect up here. So we'll say use effect. Oh, let me get that first. Let's say we use effect, so that should be imported. Yep. Nope, that is not how you do it. And we'll simply call a function and we'll say get say get data. Easy. Get data. Get data is not defined as the out of right now, so we'll say get data. So in here now we can try to do a fetch. So there's no point of me rewriting it. Let me just copy some of the code that we have already defined up here, so such as this. So we won't need it for playlist, that because for playlist this it doesn't make a difference if you're in 6 months or 8 months, because those are just your playlists and nothing else. Let's try to put it inside a try catch right now rather than later when it starts to produce errors. We'll say log couldn't get the detailed data. There we go. Access token is fine, but what we also need to pass up here, or something I need to change in the server actually more than up here, is up here. So we have the, let's say we're trying to get the top artist. We got the artist, but we also need to pass the time frame that we want to get the data from. So if I go back to the API, so we got the type tracks, and we need to set the time range to be that. So in here we'll set time range. I don't know where that goes. Hopefully it is here. Okay, it doesn't look like it's here. Okay, time range. For now, let's just say the long term to see if it's gonna work or not. Because I think my long term is slightly different from my, actually let's say short term, because I know my short term is very different from the long term. hmm and that just reads the data, right? Let's see if that itself is gonna work first. Fail to fetch. Let's allow the fetching. I just want to see if the long term and the short term works. So what we're doing currently is this, right? However, this is not what we're going to do. We're going to put that directly inside the URL, and then it automatically knows the time range. So if I say time range is short term for the time being, it should work. I need to fetch the data again. And here, if we say the short term, it basically gets the short-term data, so it is working. It's getting my short-term data, so that is fine. However, what we will do later on is, instead of like saying just the short term up here, we will get some form of data from our URL that says us about the term, and then we will use that to fetch the data. Okay, so it's the short term here, so we need to do that in display all up here. So we're saying get top tracks, we're passing in the code, but we also need to pass in the time frame, and that will depend on the so we'll say time. Let's define it here for now. We'll probably need to set it as a state later on, but for now let's say short term, and here we will say and time frame is going to be our time frame. Let's not call it let's call it normal time frame, and that is also going to be in time frame. And it's exactly the same thing down here. Okay, so now we should be getting the top tracks and the top response depending on the time frame. So since once we get the data, we need to set these data to up here, which will be in our, where's it gone? So actual data that we receive. So we will overwrite the data, even though it's probably not a good idea, because we can use that again. If they click on the median term, the data is already there, right? I don't really know what I should do now. No, I think I'll just overwrite it. Not always following the best practices here, but data is going to be top artists. No, but okay, let me reorganize everything, because right now I'm just writing it like I'm thinking one at a term, but I think I should just try to abstract it from the very beginning, then rather than doing it at the end. So just give me a second to think. Okay, so what I've just done now is basically I just removed the two weights. Instead, I just called it get data by time frame. So that's the only variable that we'll need, and we will modify these as we, depending on the data type. So what I want to say is, because we are already extracting the URL based on the type of the data, we will say, let's call it data type. Data type to get, and then here what we'll say is, if our URL is artist, I think it's artist, then we will set the data type to get top artist. I'll do all of this access token in a bit. Otherwise, we'll do get top tracks. So what we are going to do is, instead of, no, I think it's okay actually. Let's just make sure it is correct though. So get top artists and get top tracks, because if it's not an artist, then it's most likely will be top tracks, right? And in here, instead of getting top artists, we will do is data type to get. We have the access token and we have the time frame. And once we get this data, we can extract this as a JSON file. Required data is going to be the data by time frame dot JSON. We will need to await this as well. And then I think for now they just log it. Is this working? Let's see. No. So the data is, the problem is coming from here. Makes sense. Again, give me a moment to think. The whatever error that I had last time, even though it might be in the same video here, I have spent a long time trying to fix the error that I had, and although it is now fixed, I do want to go through a quick explanation, because this is a very odd kind of error that at least for me, I don't feel like I would have ever figured out how it worked. So the error that I had just then was, I go back, so when I did the refresh token, this refresh token, it would actually run twice. This was probably something to do with how I was fetching and how the components were being mounted. So what would happen is, let's say I'll have a response ran here, and I will have the actual access token which I'm logging, and then there will be another response ran, and then there will be no access token found, like it could not fetch the access token. And for my life, I could not figure out why that was happening. Look at this chat GPT. I'm trying to ask GPT why the problem is and why it is happening, and it's absolutely useless. I was also looking through some YouTube videos, but I could not figure it out, right? And yeah, I don't really know what the main error was, and since I did spend like a good 3-4 hours, I think, like trying to get it working, and I think I finally given it is like, for the time being, let's not worry about it. And what we used to have was a code up here, right? We will be redirected with the code that we used to get this access token. I was like, it's just in the URL, it doesn't look very nice, let me just remove it. And that is all I did, right? So if I go back to my actual use effect, so minimize this a little bit. So here, so I did added the auth code inside use effect. I don't think that will make any difference. That was when I was testing it, so I think it shouldn't make a difference, but we can check that out now, right now. So let's remove that. Let's comment it out just in case it doesn't work and I need to do it again. That's fine. So all I did was, within the use effect, I would, oh no, that's not gonna work, right? Okay, now let's go back. Okay, anyway, so I have the actual auth code up here. I get the auth code, I pass it to my fetch data up here, that I can use to get the access token, and as soon as I get that code, I can just remove it from the search bar. So it just redirects me to the same page, but just removes that code part, right? And then I think what was happening was, it will again use that code to try to get another access token. However, OAuth does not allow you to do that, and that is why you used to get the error of no access token could be fetched. However, since I remove it, there's nothing for it, like no code for it to fetch from up here, right? The auth code will not be there. It will be kind of null. and I think that is why it worked. So if I go back and show you again, and let's close that out, and if I just say get data, it reloads and I have my access token here, which before would have been no access token found. So since we have this, we can actually start working on our 6 month 1 month thing, and hopefully I don't run into many more errors like that, because I don't know, if I was happy with the code part being up here, I may have not found it for a very very long time, and it will have just wasted my time. So sometimes when coding you get into those kind of issues which are just, I don't know, unexplainable. There were probably some things, but I lack the skills, I guess, to really understand what was going on. But at least that's done. So we can get back into our, so we won't need that here anymore. I won't need these runs. Let me remove this access token from up here first, because that is not nice. So what I basically do is I have my roots, and my roots inside the display all, what it takes is the access token. And since my display all takes these access tokens from up here, I can just use them to do another fetch of the data with the time frame. And I'm just checking here if my access token is working correctly, which we will check just now. Check now. I don't know, I don't really remember what I was trying to do here, so let's get back and let's go on top tracks, let's say view more. So the access token is there, so I guess now all we have to do is click on these and get the right data. And what I also did add is once I click on those buttons, the 1 month 6 months things, it basically updates one of the variables up here, which is a time frame. So it just by default it is medium term, but once I click on those buttons, it updates the time frame to be whatever button it was clicked from, and that's the data we will get. I should probably set this to time frame, so every time the time frame changes, the use effect should mount again. I think that's okay, because since we are receiving it, there's no point of checking it again and again. I think I will need to do get data again. So view more. Let's just make sure that our data is there. So I am getting an array with 20 elements, which are all of the data that I'm getting. Again, here I'm getting two different. See, that was the problem that was causing us before, right? Here as well, as you can see, the data is returned twice while it should be once. Here it doesn't really cause us any problems, so I'm going to leave it as it is. Don't want to spend unnecessary time for the time being. And if I were to click on, let's say 6 months, does that change? Okay, no, we are getting it. It's just a bit slower. I was trying to do it too quickly, and we get 6 months. Okay, so we are getting the right type of data. So I just need the component up here to update accordingly, right? Okay, so we are back here again. I again spent way too long time trying to fix that issue, and it wasn't even a big issue this time around. So the months work. Do they? Okay, they work. I have to be careful, and it was such a stupid mistake. Something I got lazier at the start in the server. If you remember, in here I had short range manually typed in because I was like, oh, we'll just change it later on as other things start working. Completely forgot about it, and I was like, why does it not update? I think I must have spent an hour again doing that, but at least now I've figured out, and that changes. So and I'm not getting the data in the home page now, but I'm pretty sure I know why that is. So yeah, no data up here, but I think it's because since we've changed the server now, which is up here, to get the time range, whenever when we fetch from the home page, there is no time range defined. So all we have to do is say and time. I hope it is time. No, when we go here we say time frame, don't we? Yep. So we say time frame equals to and our default is just the medium term, so we'll just set the medium term to be default, and we'll say the same thing for all of these. Might get an error because I have not defined that for playlist and other one. Actually for playlist we don't even need that, so keep it as it is. And for the other two we'll say medium term time. Let's see, hopefully that loads. Oh okay, now we'll get data, and there we go, we got all the data. Go into view more, got these. 6 months is the medium term, so nothing's going to change. But if I say a month, everything reloads, right? That's fine. Let me just remove that up here, so I don't need to the name of everything up here. And if I go back to my server, for my top artists as well, I haven't defined the time ranges, so all I have to do is from here just copy this time range and paste it up here, and that should do the job. Right, so that's my, let's go back. If I go view more on the artist, so that's all my artists. If I say a month, see, I was here about to get into the trap again. It says couldn't get top artist, so I knew it was from the server. I go back here, I set the time range, but it's not actually using the variable time range. It said I hard coded the time range, which of course would not work. I'm still getting couldn't get top artist. I don't know. Let's try and refresh it and then see if that works. Get data. Oh great. So again I'm getting couldn't get top artist. In this case we have version me top artist. Once again I need to be more careful, man. At least I'm finding them quickly, but I haven't defined what time range actually is up here. So request.query.code, not code, time frame, or it can be null. That's it. Hopefully that works. Okay, no errors. That looks better. If I say top artist, 6 months is normal, a month, yep. If I go all time, yep, that seems fine. Great. So finally, by making a lot of stupid mistakes and a lot of other problems, we have managed to get most of it working. So all we really have now left to do is we click on one of these playlists. It will show all of the tracks, which we have already done in the backend. So it's basically just setting up the front end. We click on the artist, we basically have most of the data, but what it should do is show their genre, like they normally make music in, and for tracks as well will show all of the graphs with the audio features, which again I think we have written at the back end already. So it's just implementing a little bit of the front end, but that will all be in the next video. So